Additionally, besides, moreover. As a writing teacher, I am so tired of my students overusing these transition words. And in today's video, I'm going to tell you why words like additionally, besides, and moreover are ruining your writing. And then I will teach you 4 cohesion strategies to actually create smoother transitions and improve your writing. So let's go ahead and get started. First, let's take a look at a piece of writing from one of my own students. This is a single paragraph in a larger essay about language learning. The previous paragraph was about how age can impact our ability to learn a language, and this paragraph is focused on motivation. So let's take a look. Moreover, motivation is a really big factor when learning a second language. Jing, a language learner in Australia, had a lot of motivation to get a promotion at work, so he tried really hard in English and made a big improvement. When you don't know why you are doing something, you just give up. I actually hated English when I was little because I was forced to learn it. I think it's important to have passion and enjoy it. Moreover, immersion in the language is important too. For example, I really like Netflix. Ever since I started watching Breaking Bad, I couldn't help but try to learn the words in the show. It had a lot of slang and I started using it with my friends, which was fun. I learned words like sick, for show, and whack. They asked me where I had learned those terms, and I said Breaking Bad, and then we started talking about it together. Also, slang is really vital to using a language. I learned some slang from my Uber driver who was really helpful. We took a car from the airport, and I talked with him for the whole trip. Besides, he said my English was good, which increased my confidence. Confidence is important too. Furthermore, the show helped me to immerse myself in the language, and I felt in control and relaxed when talking about it with my friends. This is similar to Jing's experience because he also liked talking to his housemates and felt comfortable speaking with them. In addition, my motivation is to one day work in finance, and I think learning English will really help me, so it is important that I practice it. Personally, I found this paragraph pretty difficult to understand because of all the different ideas in it. Although the topic sentence says that this paragraph will be about motivation, notice how many ideas there are. We see motivation, immersion, slang, confidence, and then back to motivation. And if we look more closely, these ideas were all presented kind of in a list and then just connected with transition words. For example, moreover, motivation, moreover, immersion, also slang, besides, and confidence. Furthermore, then the show. And then the student tries to come back to the main point of motivation using in addition. So something I notice with my students is they almost try to list a bunch of different ideas within a single paragraph and then transition between them with these transition words. And then they think that they are creating smooth connections because they are using these words. However, cohesion and smooth transitions do not come from simply using transition words alone, but rather the order and content of information and how they relate to each other. In English, we often write in what we call the old-new info pattern. This means that we like to present old information first and then add on new information to help the reader follow along. And actually, by using these transition words so much, you are just listing many new ideas one on top of the other without going deep with a single idea. So it becomes very difficult for your reader to follow along and recognize the main point you're trying to make. Let's look at another paragraph on motivation and see how the old-new info pattern helps us create smoother transitions and follow along a little bit more easily. Now, this essay is still about language learning, and keep in mind that the previous paragraph was about learning a second language at a young age. This paragraph says, while children learn languages very easily, that's my old information, it can be more difficult for adults, which is why one of the most important factors in learning a language is motivation, new information. According to Linda Carr, a linguist and researcher, motivation, old information, is essential to learning another language successfully. This, the previous idea, is evident in the case study of Jing, new information, an English language learner in Australia. When Jing, old information, was being considered for a promotion at work, his motivation greatly increased, new information. Because of this motivation, old information, he dedicated himself to studying English at home, took a speaking class to improve his pronunciation, and bravely put himself in unfamiliar situations that required English. This deliberate immersion, old info, referring back to all of those activities, and effort significantly improved his English skills, and in the end, he got the promotion. Similar to Jing's story, old information, I have also experienced the profound effect of motivation on my own language learning, new information. Because I, old information, need English to succeed in my university studies, I have felt more motivated to improve, new information. Thus, I have begun following English teachers on social media and have signed up for English courses even though I am not required to. Concerning my past experiences, new information using the topic introducer concerning. When I was studying for the TOEFL, my motivation for learning English was low as I only wanted to learn English to get a high test score. But now that I am living and studying in another country, I need English to survive. This new environment and motivation, old information, have been the catalysts to taking initiative over my own learning and ultimately making the progress that I have always wanted to achieve. Notice how the main idea of this paragraph is motivation and its effect on language learning. We did not go off topic and start discussing other factors like slang or confidence or immersion. We just focused on motivation, what the examples in our reading said about this, and then our own experience. Now, let's see how we created cohesion by using the old new info pattern and 4 strategies for achieving this. The first strategy is what I call the bring it down and move forward method. This means to repeat something from the previous sentence or paragraph and then move forward with the new information. Notice how I began my paragraph. I said, while children learn languages very easily, it can be more difficult for adults, which is why one of the most important factors in learning a language is motivation. Remember how the previous paragraph talked about how learning a second language is easier at a young age? Well, I repeated that information in my first sentence, and then I moved forward by talking about adults and how motivation is an important factor for adults who are learning a second language. So here are some useful phrases that I teach my students to help them bring it down and move forward. If you want to express a cause and effect relationship, you might say, because old info, then new info. Or because of old info, new info. Or as a result of old info, new info. If you want to compare something, you might say similar to, then have the old info and new info, or just as, old info, new info. If you want to contrast or state something that is unexpected or surprising, you can use although, even though, despite the fact that, or while, old info, then new info. Or if you simply want to add information onto what you have already said, you can use not only old info, but also new info, in addition to or besides old info, new info, or the word another plus a noun. Perhaps another factor related to successful language learning. Now, I actually have the adding info phrases last because these are the words that my students tend to overuse and use incorrectly. This is the easiest and laziest option to choose because you really don't have to consider the relationship between the old info and the new info. Now, looking at this chart, you might think to yourself, but Amy Joy, these are the transition words that I've learned before. And yes, you might have seen these words on some lists or in textbooks before, but have you ever considered why they are on the list? The word does not create cohesion, but rather the relationship it expresses. Let me show you what I mean. In my paragraph, I said, this deliberate immersion and effort significantly improved his English skills, and in the end, he got the promotion. Similar to Jing's story, I have also experienced the profound effect of motivation on my own language learning. The transition word similar to might have been on a transition word list that you've seen, but we are using it to connect the example of Jing to my own personal experience. So I really don't want you to think about the word by itself in isolation, but rather how it is connecting all of the information in an old new info pattern. And you will notice in my chart that I never just give students the words, because I don't want them focusing on the word, but rather how to use that word to mention old information and then add in new information. By following this strategy, you will really be able to stay more on topic and go deeper with your thoughts than just piling a bunch of different ideas together within a single paragraph. Now, our second cohesion strategy to achieve the old new info pattern is using the word this. To be honest, my students never use the word this enough in their writing. The word this is so great for creating cohesion because its meaning is literally to refer back to what was previously said. And you can use the word this as a pronoun by itself, or you can use this as a determiner plus a noun to refer back to what you've mentioned. Notice how many times I used the word this in my paragraph. First, we see this is evident. I could also have said this idea is evident in the case study of Jing. I used this as a pronoun to refer back to the whole idea about motivation and what the researcher says about it. Then I went on to talk about Jing's motivation, and then I said, because of this motivation, this plus noun, referring back to the motivation of Jing that I mentioned before. Old info, new info. Then I talked about what Jing did to improve his English, and to refer back to all of those activities, I said, this deliberate immersion and effort, to refer back to all of the activities. Then I talked about my own experiences living in a new country, and to refer back to that, I said, this new environment and motivation. And one common way we use the word this in academic writing is to refer back to an idea, a quote, or an example. So in academic writing, we often say things like, this shows, or this demonstrates, or this indicates that, explaining the importance of the example. Or you can use this plus a noun. For example, this situation shows, or this example demonstrates, or this quote means, and then finish your sentence. And before we move on to our next cohesion strategy, I want to remind you, if you are studying for the TOEFL, the IELTS, or just want to improve your English vocabulary, then you might be interested in my workbook, 75 Advanced C1, C2 level words. In this workbook, I teach you 75 advanced words that I use and hear as a native English speaker. I also teach you their collocations and their grammar so that you not only understand the words, but can use them in your everyday life. So after watching this video, go check out my website, yourfavoriteenglishteacher.com, and buy my workbook today to improve your advanced English vocabulary. Okay, and our third way to create cohesion, flow, and better transitions is simply by using conjunctions, specifically and but. Combining sentences with these conjunctions can really help your reader follow along all the way through because they don't have to start over every single sentence. For example, in our paragraph, we said, this deliberate immersion and effort significantly improved his English skills, and in the end, he got the promotion. Now, I know the word and is a really small word that my students know, but a lot of times they don't really use it. So let's hear how this sentence would sound without and. This deliberate immersion and effort significantly improved his English skills. He got the promotion. By not using and, I had to start over with that second sentence, and I don't really feel or hear the connection from one sentence to the other. They feel very separate, and my brain has to do a lot of work to make that connection itself. So if you ever feel like your writing is a little bit choppy or you don't know how to make a connection, really consider adding in a conjunction and seeing if that helps your writing flow a bit better. And if you want to see more examples about this, I actually have a whole video on it. So I'll link that above and also in the description below. So after this video, you can watch that one too. Okay, and our fourth strategy for creating cohesion and smoother transitions is by using topic introducers such as concerning, in terms of, and regarding. Towards the end of my paragraph, I wanted to mention something about my previous experience learning English. And in order to do this, I used the topic introducer concerning when I said, concerning my past experiences, when I was studying for the TOEFL, my motivation for learning English was low. And if you'd like more examples and information about how to use topic introducers, go check out my video, both linked above and in the description below. So overall, if you want to create cohesion and better transitions in your writing, stop focusing on using transition words, but rather focus on using the old, new info pattern and the 4 strategies that I've just taught you. Trust me, your teachers will really thank you. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you learned something new. If you did, make sure you like this video and subscribe to my channel so you can keep improving your English with me. I'll see you next time. Bye!